Okay, thank you all so much for joining us today. We are going to get started. We're going to focus on some of the pro tips of the admin system for OKCareerGuide today. Over the past couple of years, we've had a lot of frequently asked questions. How do I do this? Where do I go to do that? And so this webinar is designed to be a pretty quick one to really highlight how you knock out some of those small administrative things that end up paying dividends in the end and save you a lot of frustration, hopefully. We're a small but mighty group, so please feel free to drop questions in the chat or just unmute yourself. If there's something that you wanted to go over today that we're not getting to, I would love for you to drop that because we're very flexible today. My goal is that you will walk away knowing how to do a couple key things. One, learning how to do like a mass registration with your students. That can save a tremendous amount of time and hassle, both on the front end of getting students loaded into the system and walking them through that process, but also on the a year later, when they're getting back into the system, they can't remember their password or whatever. That'll save a lot of time and frustration there. On that note, I also want to show you how to reset a student password and look up a user and find user details and their account information, that sort of a thing. Also want to talk about how to transition students out of your school, whether they're graduating, moving from middle school to high school or to another school in your district or even out of district, how to do some of those transfers. And then we'll also, if time allows, I just want to show a couple key places to pull some reporting information. I know that I've already received a number of questions about how to pull reports for ICAP. So we want to cover a couple of those areas, but if time allows. If not, some that's already been done. And I think I've worked with about half the folks on the call anyways. So we've already talked to that to some degree. If you have questions outside of everything I just mentioned, please drop it in the chat or unmute yourself so I make sure to save a little time to go over it. In terms of introductions, our OKCareerGuide team is on here. Myself, AJ Kroll, Latoya Miller has joined us as well, and so has Nate Brubaker. So if you have any questions, we are here to help you. If you need training, if you need some step-by-step walkthroughs of how to do stuff, please don't hesitate to reach out to us. Get in touch with us at any time. And then in addition to the OKCareerGuide team here at the State Agency of Career Tech, Cooter, the company that makes OKCareerGuide, they also provide support through their client engagement team. And they are available Monday through Friday from 7 a.m. to 6 p.m. They've got a convenient 877 number. They've got a chat box on the admin side of things. You can email them. And I can't stress enough how accessible they are. There's been plenty of times that I've been in the middle of a training. Someone had a really good question that I didn't know how to answer. So I just put them on speakerphone, just called client engagement on speakerphone, and we learned together. So if you've got a classroom of 25 kids looking at you because something's not working right, I definitely encourage you to call them, okay? All that information can be found at the bottom of almost every OKCareerGuide page. There's a little help button, and you can see that client engagement information. We do have a lot of resources that are available. Traditionally, we'd be handing these out because we'd be in your school, but we're not there this year. So if you need posters, either for as we move into the spring or as you're planning for next year, if you need posters, we have plenty of those we'd like to share. We also have our YouTube channel, which our webinars and short training videos, both for students and educators, are posted on. So you can access that. If you just go to YouTube and search for OKCareerGuide, our channel pops up there at the top. We're not cool enough to have our own URL and stuff like that yet. And then on the right-hand side of the screen, you also see a lot of documents. We have created a ton of helpful ICAP worksheets and checklists and work-based learning guides and toolkits to help you through the ICAP process and really facilitate meaningful career development and career awareness conversations. So feel free to use and abuse that. It's all on our CTU website. That's ctyou.org. OKCareerGuide.org. And we cover that in a couple other areas, and we can link you directly to it. It's at the bottom of every one of my emails. So if you've got an email from me, then you've got it there as well. So, and if you have questions, feel free to drop them in the chat and we can link you there. Should be up to speed. You should see the OK Career Guide landing page. And I'm going to go ahead and go into the, excuse me, the admin side of the system. So I click the drop down and administrator login. Fortunately, my web browser remembers all my passwords. Otherwise, I'd be lost. Okay, so here we are on the admin side of OK Career Guide. And I want to begin by looking up a user. There's plenty of times that I get a phone call and someone's trying to figure out what the username is for a particular student, or they're not sure which account to use, that sort of thing. So I'm going to click on this fourth tab here, the administration tab. I'll zoom in just a tad. There we go. Excuse me. There we go. So here on this admin tab, you can really do quite a bit. But the first place we're going to go is here kind of in the middle of the page where it says find a user. All right. And I'm going to use my good friend Nate because he's got the perfect amount of accounts to kind of demonstrate what I think a lot of you all see. So I'm going to type in Nathan Brubaker. And let's say little Nate, he's a 10th grader. He hasn't looked at this since right before the pandemic started last year, and you're trying to get him ICAP ready, and he just doesn't know what he's supposed to do, right? And oh my goodness, Nate's got 3 accounts. So what am I supposed to do here? Which one is it? Which one does he need? Now, pre-engineer or engineer that Nate is, he's gone ahead and he's named his accounts appropriately, so we know which one to use. But let's assume he's like 99% of our students, and these are all almost the same thing, right? So what you want to do is click on this actions button, and that will take you into his profile. And from there, we can see the work that Nate has done. And I can see that there's no work in this one. So this is not an account that we want to save. Now, that's because this is Nate's admin account. But if you were to not see any assessments there, then you wouldn't want to use that one. So I'm going to go down to this one right here at the bottom. I'm going to click the actions button, and I can scroll down, and I can see that, okay, he has taken some assessments. This is an OK profile, but ooh, that was 2015 and 2017. So what I want to do is I want to go check the other account real quickly just to see if there's more recent data. So I'm going to go to that middle one, and granted, this is his adult account, but we're going to make believe that it's not. And I can see that, yep, he took some assessments even last year and the year before. So this is probably the account that we want to salvage, right? This is the one we want Nate to move forward with. So I can, and just by the way, you have lots of information here on this screen. You can look at his resumes. If he's uploaded any documents in the My Document area, you can access it here. We can click in on these little magnifying glasses and view reports that he's done, see the results of those. We have the portfolio summary, which is kind of like that. Let's say Nate is graduating and he's done, and he wants kind of a summary of everything he's done for ICAP. We can do this portfolio summary and see that here. It kind of collects everything he's done and spells it out for us. So I encourage you to explore that. But anywho, so this is the account that we want to save for Nate, right? So I'm going to make note of his username. And then if I needed to reset his password, because again, it's been a whole pandemic ago since he logged in, we're going to hit reset password. And don't worry, Nate, I'm not actually going to reset it. But then we would click yes. And what it would do is it would spit out a little 6-digit. Usually it's a just letters, sometimes letters and numbers, passwords, but a little 6-digit password that you'd make note of. And here you go, Nate. That's your new password. Next time he logs in, it's going to ask him to reset his password. So that is how to find a user, how to tell which account is the one that you want to move forward with, and how to reset a password. So I know we're going quick, but that's because I want to make sure we get done because I know you all don't have a ton of time available. So I'm going to go back to the administration tab. And again, if I'm going too fast, if you need me to repeat, drop it in the chat or just unmute yourself. So that was all done here on the administration tab and on the find a user area. That's how I did everything I just did. The next thing I'm going to do is I'm going to show you how to transition users out of your system. Before you do that, we're going to talk about a couple scenarios. So the first scenario is that you are trying to get rid of seniors who have graduated, or seniors that have graduated a long time ago or are graduating this year. And for that, you will need a special code. And you can get that special code from me. Put in the chat, hey, please send that to me. I've got an email that I send out that's kind of a step-by-step of everything we're about to look at. So you've got that handy, because you're going to do this once or twice a year. You're not, so it's helpful to have that little step-by-step. Jesse asked if you should have the managed security. Not necessarily. Only the top level admin has this managed security option on their screen. What this allows us to do, it just allows you to determine what other administrators in your system are able to do. That's all it does. So you don't necessarily need that. So I'll send that to you, Mandy. That was the one, transition users, right? They're graduating, you're gone, good job, you left. The other transition users is to send them to another school in your district or to another district entirely. And for that, you will also need a special code, but it's obviously different than the one for these students that are graduating. And so for that, you can get that special code from the sending school. If it's in your own district, then that's easy, because you can probably work with that counselor and get it. If it's out of district, it becomes a little bit more of a hassle. You can also get these codes from us. We can share those codes with you. But what you would need to go to first is to get the activation codes. So like if it was in district, right? If I was Oklahoma City Public Schools and I've got a kid going from US Grant to John Marshall, I can click this activation codes, and then I can see all the special codes for my schools right here. I would just write down the right one, and then I would go back to this administration tab. And now we're ready to transition users. And Mona asked for those instructions, so I'll make sure I get those to you as well, Mona. So I hit the transition users button, and I'm going to walk through this process real quickly. So the first one, it says select product, and I get this drop down. You will see in the admin side of the system, you'll see these two things, Cooter Navigator and Cooter Journey. And Navigator is the 6th through 12th grade version. Journey is the adult version. We just call it all OKCareerGuide. But you'll just want to go ahead and click Cooter Navigator, unless you're like Jesse, who I think is at Green Country Technology Center and is likely working with both adults and high school students. From there, you will have access to your dropdown. If you're working just from a high school or a single school, you'll probably only have one box to check there. If you are in a district account, or for instance, if you're at a technology center, you're going to see all of your feeding schools, all the schools that are part of your district. And since I'm in the state level account, I get to see everyone, and we don't want to pull 400,000 users. So I'm not going to do that. I'm just going to select our training pool. And then I'm going to scroll down a little bit further. I can discriminate based on last name if I need to. And then this graduation year checkbox is pretty important, because that is how we determine which class we're looking at. Graduation year is usually pretty accurate in the system. Another term you see on other reports is grade level. That'd be 9th, 10th, 11th, and 12th. That one, if you're not constantly reinforcing for students to update their grade level, may not be accurate, but almost always when they set up their account, they put in the right graduation year. So I'm going to uncheck all grad years. And I just want to work with the students that graduated in 2020. Okay, so just those that graduated last year. Since this is the training account, there might not be any. So I'm going to go ahead and expand it a little bit longer. Sorry. So I hit search. And here are all my students that theoretically graduated in that time frame, right? So I'm going to scroll down to the bottom. That is 533 students that I could potentially get rid of. Now there's two ways that you can do this. I'm going to go back to the top. Sorry if I'm giving you Zoom whiplash here. There's two ways that I can do it. I can go through each student here and determine, because I know them, they're my students or not. Okay, yes, Ash graduated. Robbie did. Carlos didn't. Murat did, Carrie did, and I can check them individually, which may or may not be a good thing for you to do. You know, if you've got 1,000 students, that might be a little bit of a headache. But if you don't, that might be a good thing to do. Or I can just click this box at the top and select them all. Now, I want you to remember, nothing you're about to do is unfixable, okay? But it will require a call either to client engagement, if this isn't a student that you can go have sit right in front of you, or if you've got a student, if they're someone that's still in your school, that you can have them log in. They can fix it. The student can fix it from their account, their profile. But if they're not with you anymore, or they transferred to a different school or whatever, you'll have to call client engagement to fix it, and they'll just ask you who was it, and if you know their username, that sort of a thing. They can do that. So anywho, I've got everybody checked, and this is pretty important. I have had someone almost throw a shoe at me. If you've gone through this list and you've been checking the names, right? Don't go to the next page. You're going to need to enter the super special code right here and then click apply. If you go to the next page, it will erase all those checkboxes. So however much time that took you, it will be gone. So you're going to do it one page at a time, enter those students, and then boot them out of the system, and they're gone. Just for point of reference, the code that I'm going to send you with these instructions sends them to this kind of open Oklahoma resident pool where they still have their account, they can still log in, the system will still look the same. It's just their data won't feed to your school anymore. It will now feed out to this other Oklahoma resident pool. So, okay, that is transitioning users in a nutshell. Are there any questions other than I've got a couple folks that would really like that detailed email on how to do it? And again, feel free to unmute yourself or throw it in the chat. So far we've covered how to find a user, how to look into their account and determine which one is the right one, and then how to reset a password, and then how to transition users. So far so good? Okay. Excellent, Dana and Mona and Mandy, and I'll look at the chat and make sure I get everybody's emails down to, if your email is the one that you registered with, that's the one that I'll send it to you. Okay, I think those were the main. I'm going to pull up my objectives for the day, because I think those were the main things. Mass registration. No, we haven't talked about mass registration yet. Okay. So, all right. Pause. Here's a way to save yourself a massive amount of trouble. We had a large school district. They had just a handful of career specialists that were responsible for OKCareerGuide and ICAP. And so they were responsible for touch points with every 8th grader in the district and like every 10th grader in the district or something like that, which was quite a few people. So they would go into a classroom for 6 straight weeks, touching every class. And the first 20 minutes was always getting students to create their account, right? And no matter how intentional they were to do the step-by-step on the overhead or on the smart board or whatever, you always get those questions of students that just aren't paying attention, right? And they quickly figured out that if they mass register their students, they save that 25 minutes times every day for 6 weeks. They were able to get so much more done. They also found out that whenever that student was then in, the teacher's advisor time or whatever, that when they said, I don't know my username, well, this teacher didn't help them set it up. So this teacher had no idea how to help them. If you use the mass registration, you can use a standardized format. So it doesn't matter if the kid can't remember their username, because everybody knows that it is first name, last name, birthday, or whatever, or it's your first initial, last name, lunch number. So mass registration will save you a massive amount of headache on that end. And to do that, you go to the Tools and Resources tab. So it's our 3rd tab here. And we're going to scroll down here on the left-hand side at the bottom. There are registration instructions and a registration spreadsheet. So the registration instructions were clearly written by someone who speaks computer and not people, right? But all these things on the left-hand side refer to columns on your spreadsheet. And you can download the spreadsheet template, but it's just going to have all this information right here. And what I would do, honestly, if I was in your shoes, is I would download a report out of my student information system that has student demographic information. And then I would change those columns to match this as closely as I could. Now, you're obviously going to have to go in and you're going to have to put in things like their education level. That may be part of your printout, but you'll have to put in things like username and password. You can make everybody have the same password, right? Everybody's password is, the school mascot and a number, whatever. But the usernames you'll have to create, right? And so that's where you want to do some kind of standardized format. Nonetheless, you take all this information, you get it set, and then you send it off to client engagement. That's our friends at Cooter. And you give them, depending on what time of the year it is, if it's early in the year, right as school starts, at least a week to get this information into the system. And they will get that plugged in and you'll be set and you'll be able to walk into a classroom and you can say, all right, everybody log in. Well, I don't know what my account is. Well, guess what? And you've got it set. So that is how you do mass registration. Even if that's not how you've done it in the past, I would strongly encourage you to consider doing it that way in the future, just because I think it would save time. And as those students from previous years age out, then it will make life a lot easier. Okay, so again, that was mass registration. That was found on the third tab, the Tools and Resources tab. And then scrolling down on the left-hand side under About Cooter Products, we have mass registration, where you can get the spreadsheet, which is just a template, and then the registration instructions, which I think the instructions are the important part because more than likely you're going to get your spreadsheet from your student information system and make it match. Okay, we are at 25 minutes. I've covered the things that I wanted to make sure we got to. I don't see any additional questions in the chat. So what I'm going to do is I'm going to take a moment real quick to show you I'm just going to touch real briefly on some of the reports that I've been asked about. But I encourage you, if you have not signed up for the 4 Counselors Only Conference in 2 weeks on March 9th and 10th, to do that, because my wonderful colleague Latoya here is going to be talking more about the reporting features, specifically the ICAP reporting features, more in depth. We'll have 50 minutes there to go specifically in depth on that. So we're just going to do a real quick flyby. And again, if you need a link to 4 Counselors, let me know and I'll shoot that out with emails as well. So the conference. Okay, so in terms of the reporting, I'm here on the Reports tab. That's the second tab. We've got a couple different kinds of reports, right? What the third part of ICAP says that they need an intentional sequence of courses. So that would be the MyEd plans. If you're doing MyEd plans, you're going to go here to the education plan box. Not every school is doing the MyEd plan, so that's okay. That's however you're doing it. You're going to select your school, right? You're going to select what report type. We're going to do the status, right? I want to know where we're at on the MyEd plans. Excuse me. Okay, so we have a couple different kinds of reports that we can run for the MyEd plans. A summary is just raw numbers, right? How many students haven't even looked at it, started it but didn't finish, submitted, approved, that sort of, it's just raw numbers. These other reports are kind of a list of names, right? Who's not even started the MyEd plan, who started it but hasn't completed it. So these are students I need to get back in touch with, right? What school year, just for the sake of time, I'm going to do any school year and any grade level. And for graduation year, we're going to go with current high school students. I'm going to view my report. And here we go. These are all my students that started it but didn't finish it. 6th graders started it. That's okay. I'm not too worried about them. But I'm sure that if I go further into the 591 items or students, I'd find that that there are some 9th, 10th, and 11th graders who haven't started or haven't completed their plan. So I would want to download this list or at least make note of these students, because that's who I need to get in touch with. So there's lots of different reports you can run about the My Ed plan, but that's one of them. And I did that here again on the reports tab and the activity progress reports, right? This box over here, the activity progress reports, that is much more of like, kind of just give me a list of names, right? Just a list of names of people I need to get in touch with who have done it, right? Here's everybody who has done it. This other box over here, assessment reports, the core reports, this is where I can get a little bit more detailed information, right? So if I click on core reports, I like to draw people's attention to this link right here in the middle of the page that kind of gets overlooked. It says advanced options. So I'm going to click on advanced options. And my product is already selected as Navigator because we did that just a few minutes ago. Which school I'm running it for. I just want to run it for my training school. If I need to just narrow down to a specific group of students, I can do that here. There's the education level. That's what I was mentioning earlier, right? Those are the grade levels. I don't think I want to do all ed levels. Let's just do 9th graders. And what kind of assessment? Well, there's 3 inside of OKCareerGuide, so I'm going to use the career interest one. My date range, I'm going to do last academic year. And then I'm going to do my individual report. Although I like to throw these things on here because that's just free information. So there's 4 kinds of reports. I'm just going to show the individual real quickly. Oh, I thought I had this saved as a CSV already, but I'll pull it up and maybe my computer won't struggle too hard. But what this does is it gives me the student's information. When they started the assessment, I get all this extra information that I already clicked. And then on the CSV, I'll also get the career cluster or career pathway that they scored highest in, right? So if your accreditation officer is out here, okay, here we go. Let me give you a little bit of Zoom whiplash right quick. Okay, so I've got some unnecessary extra information here, right? I don't need these things, but I do need like their student's full name, first and last, their assessment, when did they take that assessment, right? I've got their grade level, that information on there. If you're at like a technology center or a district level account, you can see what, where they took this information or this test. And then, well, I don't know why it says scale name, but this is that the highest cluster, right? So I can see where they scored the highest. So if you're needing to present information to your accreditation officer, this would be one of those reports. I really appreciate those of you taking some time out of your day. I know that it's hard to find 30 minutes in your schedule sometimes, so I hope we got some useful information out to you. Thank you all so much for being here. Hope you have an amazing rest of your sunshiny day. Thanks.